So we're going to talk about the stiff and painful knee. And knee replacement, as you know, works pretty well, about 95+% of the time. And the other 2 to 5% patients have problems, but unfortunately they will take 95% of your time managing them. So it's important to focus on it a little bit. So what am I talking about here? This is the situation when the knee looks good radiographically, but just doesn't feel right. The patient may say that it's stiff. That could be because it's swollen. That could be because it doesn't bend well. You may feel on physical exam crepitation, a sense of instability, and it could be caused by a clunk, scar tissue growing into the intercondylar area, or generalized arthrofibrosis. It may be accompanied by pain, may not. Pain and stiffness are not an infrequent complication of patient dissatisfaction. We may not capture it well the way we measure outcome in knee replacement, but pain and stiffness are reported in about 5 to 10% if you ask patients how they feel about their total knee replacement. And you look in the literature for the incidence of stiffness, and there's variability with numbers that are a little bit sobering. Mallory reporting between 8 and 12%. And Sharkey et al. Reporting that 16.9% of the early revisions and 12.2% of the late revisions were associated with some degree of stiffness. So what does a patient need to have adequate range of movement? We've identified that reasonably well, 40 to 55 degrees just for standard ambulation, about 85 to get up a stair, and even more range of movement to get out of a low chair or to kneel for a variety of reasons. Stiffness is the final common pathway, and this is something that you should keep in mind when evaluating a patient with stiffness. What I mean by that is that stiffness can result from a chronic pain syndrome, infection, kinematic problems, oversizing, improperly administered rehabilitation, or this collagen factor that Dr. Sanchetti was referring to previously. It can occur early and it can occur late. Early, it might occur because of infection or technical factor. It might be a patient factor, and later it may be because of problems with the implant or infection, things like loosening or wear-related synovitis, instability. So let's look at some common scenarios that might lead to stiffness that would be worth remembering. Here's an x-ray of a patient with early pain without infection. Workup was negative. The patient never did very well. And what we have here is a cementless implant that was not bone ingrown, it was loose. Here's another scenario. Patient presented after total knee replacement with pain and chronic effusion. The implant's well fixed to the bone. This turned out to be an infection in a stiff knee. Here's a patient who had a well-functioning knee for a number of years, developed instability and inability to flex the knee ensued. And this had to do with polyethylene wear in this carbon fiber poly in this particular case. Here's a patient presented with late pain and effusion, a well-fixed implant, and diminishing range of movement. And what was going on here was wear-related synovitis. So a number of clinical scenarios, all leading to the same outcome, that being stiffness and pain. So there are technical factors. I'll move through these quickly. I think we've pointed out some of the technical factors that might lead to pain. Some of them are not entirely in the surgeon's control, having to do with the patient's habitus. The size of the patient's leg may impact their expectations about range of movements. It's helpful to point this out to the patient. They may not realize it ahead of time. And then there's certain conditions, post-traumatic in particular, where scarring of the skin, adhesion of the skin to the underlying tissues may be predictive of stiffness post-operatively or lesser expectations in terms of range of movement. The posterior compartment is really important in terms of getting bending, and we've talked about that in some of the technique presentations dealing with posterior osteophytes. Early management of patients who have trouble regaining range of movement, they should demonstrate progressive improvement. That's what I look for, not a specific number, but progressive improvement. And I'll do manipulation within the first 6 to 8 weeks if the patient is not demonstrating progression. Rehabilitation, early weight bearing, I don't use routine CPM. It has the best case scenario for routine CPM is it may decrease your length of stay, but it doesn't necessarily decrease the outcome. But I will use CPM in an unmotivated patient or someone who is slow to gain their range of movement, particularly in a revision setting. Well, is it really the biology? What happens to the other knee in a patient who has a history of stiffness on one side? We looked this up in a series of primary knee replacements that had manipulation and revision knees that were revised for stiffness and identified a cohort. And I'll cut to the chase here. A number of patients lost motion 8 to 15 degrees in their contralateral knee with about 5 of the 15 gaining motion after surgery. And the patients required manipulation with a higher frequency. So they had a reasonably good outcome, but this is a group that you should be aware of. If they've had a history of stiffness on the opposite side, you need to be aggressive early on in order to maintain the and assure a better range of movement. Newer concepts in kinematics in terms of technique, we've touched on that in terms of sizing and the way the component is put in, not overstuffing the patellofemoral joint as is illustrated here, getting an implant that doesn't overhang, is too wide in the femoral component, too wide in the tibial component. All of these can lead to tension in the soft tissues, pain and stiffness. Likewise, if you're using a mobile bearing, which is highly conforming, it may sound obvious, but make sure that the cement and bone doesn't contain or constrain the mobile bearing. Offset, restoring offset, we've talked about that. And paradoxical motion can result if the PCL is insufficient. So you see the contact point moving forward and resulting in posterior impingement and a sense of stiffness in this particular patient. Late management of stiffness is going to require possibly a revision if there's a problem with the components, certainly an open excision of scar. Arthroscopy is rarely helpful unless this is a poorly balanced PCL and a cruciate retaining knee, and a complete capsulectomy is required in both the both gutters and in the patellofemoral joint. If you reoperate for stiffness, we looked at this. It is possible to improve the range of movement when revising to a PS knee, but generally they don't achieve the outcome of restoring the range of movement. A large number of patients required manipulation in a series of revision for stiffness, and all components revised. Many of these had other confounding issues going on that I mentioned in the beginning: loosening, malalignment, oversizing. And nevertheless, with revision and correcting these identifiable abnormalities, we were able to improve the range of movement from 42 degrees preoperatively to about 85 degrees postoperatively. So you can see not an excellent outcome, but certainly puts them in a more functional range, improving both the flexion and the extension. It didn't really matter if the PCL was competent or incompetent at the time of the evaluation in terms of their outcome. It did matter if they had a radiographic abnormality that was correctable, then the prognosis was a little bit better. There were 2 patients who had persistent stiffness. They were very different patients. One was a small, petite Caucasian female, and the other was a large African-American male. So no conclusion that I could draw there, other than it may be worth the effort if the patient is really debilitated by the stiffness. Thank you for your attention.